so you can just talk about your cats.
Sort of like Wandagogs.
When I came to move from one, actually right across the street, Division Street in downtown Northfield, in an apartment that's 3 times the size of the one I have now, I had 3,000 cat figurines. Oh, some of them were stuffed cats, but most of them figurines, and some of them were only half an inch tall, just little tiny things, but 3,000 of them. And I kept, I know I've got more than 1,000.
I was going to say 2,998.
Well, the trouble is I still buy cats.
You have the only Dean Warnholtz cat in captivity.
Yeah, the historical, well, when I was 65, I stepped down from being editor to just being a staff writer. And the merchants up and down Division decorated their windows in purple and had different things. Well, one of them had a dummy in the window typing, and that was supposed to be me. And Dean Warnholtz, for the Historical Society, made a cutout cardboard thing like Jesse James is in the Aquatic Pets. It's a cat's face, only it's my features more or less, but it has cat ears and so on, and a big purse like I always carry. And so I still have that. They gave it to me eventually.
And it's purple.
Yes. And this purple business started when I was 65. I, through the years, had a lot of purple things. I loved the color. And I'd had a winter coat and some raincoats and a 2-piece flannel outfit that I could wear wool in. But there came a time when the manufacturers just weren't making anything purple. You couldn't even buy fabric, so you could make your own. And then all of a sudden it came in one spring, everything was purple. And I thought, well, I better buy some of this till it's here. So I got some tops and skirts, and I was going to a convention that weekend, and I saw a pretty purple dress, so I thought, well, I guess I'll get that. So I wore purple all weekend, and everybody teased me about it, but I enjoyed it. And after that, whenever I needed to replace something, I bought purple. So I had quite a lot of purple, but I had other colors. And then during that winter, just before my 65th birthday, there was a banquet, and there was an open house and different things. And so I wore purple all the time during that period. And then when I went to come downtown the next Monday after all that was over, I wore red. And people said, well, where's your purple? And I thought, well, gee, maybe I better wear purple, and I'll put these things away, and then I'll gradually work them back. I'll wear them every once in a while. Well, I gained a bunch of weight, so I had to give all those to the Goodwill anyway. And then, of course, replaced with purple. So I've been purple ever since.
Well, it seems to me you've made 3 geographical moves. You moved from the house at 11th and Union to the apartment on the east side of Division Street. And that apartment was interesting because when you were a little girl, you found a piece of furniture there. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was a dresser or a little chest.
Well, for heaven's sakes, I haven't thought of that for a while.
I don't know why I thought of it, and maybe not the best thought I've had either. But when you moved up there, it had been was it the storage for the furniture store, or had the furniture store?
Yeah, there was a big furniture store there, Swenson and Hodorf, and Mother had wanted in the world is that? Whatever it is, I still have it. Anyway, she asked to see something of that nature, and they didn't have anything on the first floor or even on the second floor. So we took the freight elevator up to the third floor, and there it was, and she bought it. Now, what in the world is it? Isn't that crazy?
Well, it's something you still have.
It's something I still have. And when I went to move into that apartment, I thought, for heaven's sakes, that's where this came from.
Now, there was also a grocery store on Division Street.
Fetterman's.
Fetterman's.
That's where the Present Perfect is now.
Okay, Mr. Fetterman was sort of a philosophic grocer.
I've written a column about him. I think that's coming out this week. But it originally was called the Monarch Grocery Store because there was an excellent brand of canned goods called Monarch. And he kept that name for a few years and then changed it to Fetterman's. But if you asked him about a can of something or other, he would take it and he would fondle the can and turn it around in his hands and tell you all about where it came from, how it was processed.
So it wasn't like going to Cub and just putting stuff in the basket.
And I also remember it always had a big stalk of bananas, as it grew, hanging in the front. And they had to be very careful because in those days, every once in a while, there'd be a tarantula in a bunch of bananas. I guess tarantulas are not as horrible as I thought they were when I was a little kid, but they are poisonous.
Well, probably we don't get tarantulas anymore in the bananas.
No.
What are the biggest changes you've seen in Northfield? I mean, other than the fact that it's grown and become out of hand.
Yes. Well, of course, one sad thing is that there aren't as many clothing stores. There used to be wonderful clothing stores. Well, there's still wonderful ones, but only a couple of them.
Right.
And I don't think there's any. Is there any place you can buy men's clothing in Northfield?
The Rare Pair.
Yeah.
The Rare Pair
They
has
do have.
They have
That's right.
some men's clothing, but not.
But very limited.
Yeah.
And there used to be several wonderful ones. Ellingbo's on the square was excellent. Haberdashery, I guess we call them.
And Freeman's.
Oh, sure, Sid Freeman's. The hub.
Sid, who dressed the stars. And we don't have a shoe store anymore.
Yeah, there used to be a big one on the square. 16 Bridge Square was a huge shoe store. And of course, the Rare Pair has shoes, but they're fairly expensive shoes. I buy mine there, and I think they're worth what they charge.
Right.
But a lot of people just don't feel they want to pay that much. And well, there were at least 3 or 4 clothing stores on that side of the street. And then, of course, Perman's became a very large clothing store. There must be about 4 stores that were included in that eventually.
And they had Estee Lauder.
Oh, yes. And then, what was the name of that other chain?
Well, there was Stevenson's, and there was the Dollhouse.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think of, the
The
Dollhouse. And both Perman's and the Dollhouse became chains. They had stores in other towns. And they had big, Dollhouse had a big warehouse here.
Out on 19.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's certainly different.
And the Ideal Cafe,
Mhm.
back when it had the piano, and was where the music, a place where there was what Monk Fessler had it. And
Oh, that was a unique.
the Unique, okay.
Yeah. That was next to the First National Bank. And, yeah, I don't think the Ideal ever had a piano. It was.
Oh, okay.
They didn't have one here. The Ideal had one here.
Okay, well, the Unique eventually became the Ben Franklin store, right?
I'm trying to think. Ben Franklin was on the corner where the
Co-op.
antique shop is over there.
Yeah.
Well, and then yeah, I guess it was where the.
What was under, remember that, the whole top was that aluminum siding? And the bank has moved,
Yeah.
later moved over into that.
What was that?
What was something? The Five and Dime, it was something.
Yeah.
And that was where the Unique was though, right?
Mhm.
It's always kind of fun to go to read look at the old pictures
Yeah,
and read who was up and down the street
right.
and what was going on.
Mhm. Yeah, Ben Franklin also was in the corner where the, we just been talking about.
Hodgepodge Cave, down in the McLaughlin building.
No, it was over, the clothing store,
Rip here?
Repair.
Yeah, there used to be one I saw a picture of
Okay.
it. I think.
Well, Serendipity was around for a while. There were just so many shops that were here and then aren't anymore.
Mhm. There was a fellow that always suspected people of shoplifting when Ben Franklin was over there. And I was looking for something, I don't remember what on earth it was, and I looked at a bunch of stuff and finally grabbed something and was headed for the cashier. And he was sure I was going to steal it. And he came down out of the balcony and I came here and trotting along. And I was visiting with the cashier and handed it to her. And he looked kind of shocked.
Oh, foiled again. You know, I think that, well, when I look at it, I think one of my best gifts was the time that you and I were part of the Tour of Homes Committee.
Oh,
And I got to know you and got to find out some stories about Northfield and about houses in Northfield and about your being here. And I think Northfield is lucky to have you, who holds history, and can talk about it
well,
and remembers a lot of it.
I'm certainly interested in what has gone on as I take the transit now to go places, and I go up and down the streets and I look and I think, well, I used to know who lived in every house.
And I'll bet you know the stories of most of the houses.
Yeah, I know a lot about how they got built and who's lived in them.
I think it's time for you, the two of us, to do another tour. We'll just go sit in front of houses and you'll tell me about them, and we'll go to the next house. And Maggie, you'll have another book.
Well, Chip is talking to me about another book.
What does he have in mind?
Well, I don't know, but I told him what I'd like to do would be to go through those columns that featured people. I used to pick out one person from the Do You Remember? And there were only 74 or 5 in this book that did come out. But there's certainly that many more that are worthy.
Indeed.
And I'd like to do that.
Well, we should talk more about it then.
Well, and on that note, Maggie has a book coming up in a couple of years. And there will be a book signing here at the Historical Society. Maggie, thanks so much. Thanks for your time, thanks for your memories, and thanks for your wonderful sense of humor
Oh,
and for your patience.
Yes.
So is there anything we didn't cover that we agreed you would talk about?
no, I think we pretty much covered everything. We didn't talk about the donkey that belonged to the Sleeths, but I don't remember that donkey.
Okay, then we don't have to do that. But I remember Maxine talking about